Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer, painted around 1665. Welcome to the gallery. Tonight, we stand before one of the most mysterious and beautiful paintings in all of Western art. She is known as the Girl with a Pearl Earring, painted by Johannes Vermeer around 1665. She hangs in the Mauritshuis Museum in The Hague, in a quiet room with amber light and polished floors. Visitors stop. They fall silent. Something about this girl, her gaze, her slightly parted lips, the luminous pearl at her ear, holds the world perfectly still. She has been called the Mona Lisa of the North. But unlike the Mona Lisa, we know almost nothing about her. Who is she? Why did Vermeer paint her? And how did a forgotten artist from a small Dutch city create something so timeless? Tonight, we enter the story behind the painting, the life behind the beauty, and the centuries of silence that almost erased her from history.
The painting is small. Just 44 centimeters tall. You might walk past it if you did not know what you were looking for. But when you stop, when you truly look, something extraordinary happens. She looks back at you. Not through you, not past you, but directly at you, as though you have just called her name and she is turned to answer. The background is pure black. There is no room, no window, no landscape. Just a girl against darkness. This was radical. In the Dutch Golden Age, painters filled every corner with detail. Vermeer stripped everything away. All that remains is her face, the turban of ultramarine and gold, and that single, luminous pearl. The pearl catches the light in a way that seems impossible. It glows. It breathes. And yet, if you look closely, it is not painted with fine detail. It is merely two brushstrokes of white against a shadow. The illusion is perfect. This is the genius of Vermeer.
Johannes Vermeer was born in Delft in 1632, the son of a silk weaver who also ran an inn and dealt in paintings. He grew up surrounded by art, but not by wealth. Delft was a prosperous city of canals and churches, of blue and white pottery, and quiet domestic life. Vermeer married Catharina Bolens in 1653. She was Catholic in a Protestant country, and her mother initially opposed the match. But love prevailed. Together they would have 15 children, of whom 11 survived. Vermeer became a master painter in the Guild of St. Luke at the age of 21, but he was never famous in his own time. He painted slowly, perhaps only 2 or 3 works a year, each one layered with extraordinary patience. He never left Delft. He never sought patrons abroad. His entire world was a few streets wide, and yet within those streets he found infinity.
We do not know who she was. This is the great mystery. She is not a portrait in the traditional sense. There was no commission, no record of a sitter, no name attached to the painting for centuries. She is what the Dutch called a tronie, a character study, a face painted for its own beauty rather than to commemorate a specific person. Some scholars believe she was one of Vermeer's daughters, perhaps Maria, the eldest. Others suggest she was a household servant. Tracy Chevalier, in her celebrated novel, imagined her as Griot, a young maid who enters Vermeer's household and becomes his muse. The truth is, we will never know. And perhaps that is the point. By giving her no name, no context, no story, Vermeer gave her something greater. He gave her universality. She belongs to no one. She belongs to everyone. When you look at her, you see someone you have known, someone you have lost, someone you wish you could speak to one more time.
The turban she wears is painted with natural ultramarine, a pigment made from lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone imported from the mountains of Afghanistan. In the 17th century, ultramarine was literally more expensive than gold. Most painters used it sparingly, a tiny here, a thin glaze there. Vermeer used it lavishly. The turban is saturated with it, a deep, luminous blue that seems to contain the entire sky. How could a man with 15 children and mounting debts afford such extravagance? Some historians believe his patron, Peter van Ruijven, supplied the pigment. Others think Vermeer simply could not bring himself to compromise. He would rather go into debt than use a cheaper substitute. This tells us everything about the man. For Vermeer, beauty was not a luxury. It was a necessity. The ultramarine in that turban is not just color. It is devotion.
The pearl is perhaps the most famous detail in all of Dutch painting. It hangs from her left ear, catching the light from an unseen window, glowing against the shadow of her neck. It appears perfectly round, perfectly luminous, perfectly real. But recent analysis has revealed something astonishing. The pearl may not be a pearl at all. There is no hook, no wire, no earring visible. Some art historians now believe it is a polished tin ornament, or even an invention, pure imagination. Vermeer painted it with just 2 strokes. A small dot of white for the highlight. A larger, softer stroke of cream for the reflection beneath. No outline. No defined edge. The pearl exists only in your mind, assembled from light and suggestion. It is the ultimate demonstration of Vermeer's philosophy. He did not paint things. He painted the light that touched things. And in doing so, he made them more real than reality.
For centuries, scholars wondered how Vermeer achieved his extraordinary rendering of light. His paintings have a photographic quality that seems impossible for the 17th century. The answer may lie in a device called the camera obscura, a darkened box with a lens that projects an image of the outside world onto a flat surface. Vermeer likely used one in his studio, projecting scenes through a lens onto canvas or paper, then tracing the patterns of light and shadow. This would explain the halation effect, the soft circles of light visible in his highlights, which are identical to the optical artifacts produced by early lenses. Some have criticized this, suggesting it diminishes his genius. But the opposite is true. The camera obscura was merely a tool. What Vermeer did with what he saw through that lens, the choices he made, the poetry he found in ordinary light falling on an ordinary face, that is the genius. A camera shows you what is there. Vermeer showed you what it means.
Vermeer's life was not the life of a celebrated master. He produced only 34 known paintings in his entire career, perhaps the smallest body of work of any major artist in history. He earned money as an art dealer and innkeeper as well as a painter, but it was never enough. With 11 surviving children and a wife who came from a difficult family, the household was always on the edge of financial ruin. In 1672, France invaded the Netherlands. The art market collapsed. Vermeer could neither sell paintings nor deal in them. He fell into deep debt. His wife later testified that the stress of those years destroyed his health. In December 1675, Johannes Vermeer died at the age of 43. He left his family with nothing but debt and a studio full of unsold paintings. Katharina was forced to declare bankruptcy. She gave 2 paintings to a baker to settle a bread bill. Genius, it seems, offers no protection from the ordinary cruelties of the world.
After Vermeer's death, the world forgot him. His paintings were sold, scattered, misattributed. For nearly 200 years, the name Vermeer meant nothing. Other painters, Rembrandt, Hals, Steen, defined the Dutch Golden Age. Vermeer was a footnote, if he was mentioned at all. Then, in 1866, a French art critic named Théophile Thor published a series of articles that changed everything. He had spent years tracking down Vermeer's scattered works across Europe, and he recognized in them a quality that no other painter possessed, a stillness, a light, a tenderness that felt modern. Thor called Vermeer the Sphinx of Delft. Slowly, the world began to pay attention. The girl with the pearl earring was purchased at auction in The Hague in 1882 for just 2 guilders and 30 cents, less than the price of a loaf of bread. Today, she is priceless. She is the crown jewel of the Mauritshuis. 2 centuries of silence, and then resurrection. Why does she still move us? After 360 years, after millions of visitors, after novels and films and endless reproductions, what is it about this small painting that continues to stop people in their tracks? Perhaps it is the intimacy. She is not posed on a throne or set against a grand landscape. She is simply turning toward you as though you are the only person in the room. Perhaps it is the vulnerability. Her lips are slightly parted, as though she is about to speak, or has just finished speaking, and the words still hang in the air between you. Perhaps it is the light. Vermeer understood that light is not merely illumination. It is emotion. The way it catches the pearl, the way it warms her skin, the way it dissolves into the darkness behind her, this is not technique. This is feeling. She reminds us of what art is for. Not to decorate walls, not to demonstrate skill, but to preserve a single, unrepeatable moment of human tenderness. She is the quietest painting in the world, and she speaks louder than any other. This has been The Gallery. Thank you for watching.
D'amore Anima.
Of love, soul. This has been The Gallery by Anima. The journey will continue.